But at the same time, it might be an opportunity, because also our job is to connect the dots together, to connect all the central bank through trying to standardize our own product and then localize it based on every single central bank requirements. You cannot adapt with every single ID, because fintech is about, it's different. It's not, it's about, find the problem and create solution for it between what the merchant wants and the actual product offering into the market. This gap, and from this perspective, I think, why not? Why we don't have like very advanced payments, fast transaction, implementing the tools and the services that the merchant wants.
Welcome to Culturenomics with Arjun. The show aims to unravel the layers of the fintech sector and the rapidly evolving tech startup ecosystem across the MENA region and beyond. I am your host, Arjun, and I will be inviting founders, executives, investors, regulators, and other influential stakeholders to discuss and dissect the highs and lows of their own ventures and how they foresee the wider ecosystem evolve. Join us as we celebrate success and the spirit of risk-taking, the candid discussion that goes past the timid question and cautious answers. This show is produced in collaboration with Adyan, a reliable end-to-end payment solution that enables businesses to turn payments into a strategic growth driver. We're also brought to you by Lulu Financial Group, a global financial services provider headquartered in Abu Dhabi and operating in 11 countries. Finally, Culturenomics with Arjun Singh is brought to you by M2P Fintech, Asia's leading payment infrastructure company that enables businesses of any scale to embed financial products. Welcome to today's episode of Culturenomics with Arjun Singh. I'm your host, Arjun, and I'm joined by Abdullah Al-Othman, who is the founder of Geidea and actually a cover model on GQ.
Hi, Adrian. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, are you?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure for you to have come in. I must say that we've been in conversations with your team for a long time to get you here, so I appreciate you taking time, coming down from Riyadh, and sort of being on the couch, as I say. So Abdullah, we all know Geidea, or at least I'm sure most of my audience is well aware of Geidea and the work you guys have been doing in Saudi Arabia very successfully. Congratulations on your recent launch at Seamless, where I was there, and I even got trapped into saying a few words to the cameraman there. I hope they were worth it. But this is not about this is not about me at all. This is going to be about you and your business. I'd like to start from the very beginning, right? What does Geidea stand for?
So as Geidea was standing for Genius ID.
Genius ID?
Yeah, Genius. We combined both, and we end up with Geidea.
So I've got this whole question. I think there's two parts to it, right? Like most of my questions today will have two parts to it, right? Firstly, you've obviously been in the game for over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And I'd like you to tell me about what are the unique differences for this region when you compare it to other parts of the world, right? And the second part of the question I have is, what are the roles that the other stakeholders need to play, right, to basically unlock the opportunity associated with the world of fintech, if I may say so, right? So what's your take on that?
So as you know and witness, we recently hearing many fintechs that doing some stuff, and the fintechs become like, the fashion thing.
Yep, it's very fashionable.
Everyone like.
Well, very fashionable. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 12 months, though. All right. And
everyone just either they want to invest and other to do something. Yeah. Some of them they know the stuff, and some are not. So before I answer the question, I want to just give you an impression about the region itself for the time being and for the next period. I think for the next period, we will see 2/3 of the fintechs will vanish. Why?
Wow.
Why? Because that doesn't mean there is no opportunity. There is a huge opportunity, but some of the fintechs they don't know their stuff. They don't know it. They just want to be there.
Just copy.
They just copy, or they just they think that is very easy, and they want to, they want to try.
And I don't disagree with you. I was actually in Saudi last night,
Yeah.
and I was attending a demo day, and I should say I was disappointed by a number of the companies, because they were pretty much the same idea which someone had done.
Yep.
And they just had colored it differently.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, this period it will pass, because before the fintech and the regulatory part was closed, and then they open up. There's a lot they want to apply, and then we will see like stability for the next 3 to 5 years. But to go back to your question, so our region here is different because it's very fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
So you have for example, the GCC. You have different central bank, different country, and this is the problem. If you compare it, for example, with Europe, you have around, I don't know, maybe around 400 million with even one central bank, and this will definitely slow down the growth. But at the same time, it might be an opportunity, because also our job is to connect the dots together, to connect all the central bank through trying to standardize our own product and then localize it based on every single central bank requirements. But on the other hand, it might be difficult, because every central bank has different requirements. And I think when you mention a stakeholder also, the main and the most important stakeholder, the central bank and their job, because you cannot have innovation, and you cannot operate without having central bank license. But the central bank, I think, in my point of view and what we witnessed, they did a great job in the past. The openness that we saw, and the same time the framework that they always the issue, and they are trying to adapt with the innovation that happened of the market. It makes me think that the central bank has two main responsibility. One is enablement, to enable the market, create the infrastructure, set the law, regulation and the framework. And second thing is observation and sizing. Observation means, as you just mentioned, that is so many copies. Observation means that issue, it's not about number of licenses, it's about what the license is about. That one, and two, how many numbers of the license should be issued. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if the markets, for example, for our acquiring, for example, if the market will need, for example, 2, 3, 4 acquiring, then they issue the license, and if the acquirer that doesn't perform, then you reissue the license, you revoke, and you reissue another license. And I think this way you increase the competition, and it will increase the innovation.
I agree. And how do you think the central banks are performing against that right now?
I mean, as you know, the banks here in the region, they are acting the same as any other banks in the world. They're trying to adapt, and some of them, they are trying to embrace, the fintech, and trying to wear the fintech hat, and trying to play it, in different way. But this is the DNA of the bank, and I think that from my opinion as well, I think the bank, they should focus on their core banking, not because it's not belong to them, it's because maybe banking products much more profitable. That's what you think than an acquiring. That's one. And two, you cannot adapt with every single solution. You cannot adapt with every single idea, because fintech is about, it's different. It's about, find the problem and create solution for it. So working with the wave is better than you work against the wave. So enable your own platform to accept and to integrate with fintechs. I think this is the most smart way. And we saw many cases with them in some other regions. For example, like UK with the HSBC, when they sold their own acquiring book to the global payments. Yeah. And when they that
was such a long time ago.
Yeah, but you see, we are in the region not a little bit behind, but we are more or less like Europe and USA more than China and Southeast Asia. and taking from their own case study as a learning curve is also something important.
So let me. There's two parts to this question. So let me come back to the central bank question first. So in your view, I think the central banks have become a lot more progressive, no doubt. I think what the central banks have done in the last 5 years compared to the 5 years before that, I think, in my humble opinion, is a lot more progressive, right? I don't know if they're moving fast enough. I don't know, you tell me from a fintech's perspective. Are they actually moving fast enough? One question. Secondly, do you think that too many similar players are being allowed to enter the market? So should there be more rationing of the amount of licenses should we get? That's my first question to you. Then I'll pivot to the banks, right? Every bank fears the fintechs, but at the same time it doesn't, right? It's in that sort of situation where, most of them have bumper profits, right? They're making tons of money. Most banks are, right? Fintechs are starting to trouble them, but not really, right? They've not really, at least in this region, I don't think fintechs have penetrated the market to that extent. So firstly, do you think the central banks are going to change their stance going forward, at least in your opinion?
I think we are, as I mentioned, the learning curve phase. All central banks, they are observing and they are trying to change and to adapt.
Are they engaging with you guys as?
Yes, definitely they engage, and because in fintech space it's all about innovation. And then you need, if you are not aware about what's the innovation and what the market need is, it's very difficult to set the right regularity. So this is much more important. Some central bank, they're engaging more than others. Okay, but we always have fintech. We all require more. We require more attention.
And no regulator can ever move fast enough, right? That's everybody always says the regulator does not move fast enough in any part of the world.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So you're not any different. So it's good that they're engaging and they are responding.
Yeah.
They are. Right. Let's come to the banks. Are the banks doing the same thing? Are the banks actually genuinely engaging?
I mean, it depends. Some of the bank, yes. Some of the bank, not. But the mind thinking is changing. The mind thinking is changing of the bank.
See, I have a view, and I could be completely wrong here. This current, and one of my episodes said the winter is coming, right? Which is basically funding for startups is going to become a lot harder. Let's be honest. Whether it's a late stage player or an early stage, if you're profitable, yes, you'll get funded, right? If you have a path to profitability, I think, yes, you will get funded. If you have something very unique to offer, you will get funded. The rest, unfortunately, will not get funded, or they will have to take massive haircuts, right? Like a haircut like mine, right? To get funded. I think the banks are in a very, very interesting position where if they decide to become acquisitive, right, they could start buying out fintechs like the American banks have been doing quietly over the last 5 to 10 years. I'm waiting to see if the banks in this region become aggressive acquirers of fintechs as an accelerant of innovation. Do you see that happening?
No, not really.
You don't think so?
No, I do. Do I see it happening right now? No, not so often. But will it happen in the future? As I mentioned, the bank mindset has been changed. Some of them, they want to invest. Some of them, they're creating their own fintech arm and trying to adapt and to compete with the fintech landscape. But I think that...
But with an old mindset, with a complete banking mindset. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Yeah,
a lot of them. Just we're seeing them. But I think in the right way from the banking... what the right move that I think that the bank should play in the future is two things. Just allow their core banking to integrate easily with fintechs. That's one. And two, as you just mentioned, to invest in into the fintech that they believe and they see there's a future. These two, I think, is the best thing from the bank side to play in the fintech space.
No, I agree with you. I think the first one, at least my opinion, is as open banking, open finance comes in, I think the first one will become an eventuality.
Yeah.
They will have no choice, right?
Yep, exactly.
Because they will be asked to be compliant.
And all of this for the customer benefit, and this is the beauty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the fact whether they will acquire or invest, my hypothesis is they should, right? Whether or not they can, I agree with you. I think it's doubtful because in a lot of cases, just acquiring a fintech and not knowing how to integrate it could actually be counterproductive to both parties. The banks could lose a lot of money and the fintech could actually lose out in the long term. So I agree with you. All right, so let me now move to the next question. So you thought about the ideas sometime in 2008. You went live in 2014. Why did you do payments though?
I love it.
From the very beginning?
I spend a lot of times and I spend hours and I don't even recognize myself. So I love payments. I love this stuff.
Okay. So you started in 2008. Your growth in Saudi has been phenomenal. I have no idea, but I think you have about 65 to 70% of the market.
Exactly. Yes.
Am I right there?
Yeah.
Right.
We have around 70% of the Saudi market share. We are growing very fast in UAE and Egypt. As you know, also we are the only bank having a banking license, the acquiring. We're applying the same in UAE and hopefully soon in Egypt. We are from the beginning. We have this. I have this vision to elevate the payments, to enhance the payments. Since day one, when we established Geidea, we witness there is a gap between what the merchant wants and the actual product offering into the market. This gap, and from this perspective, I think why not? Why we don't have like very advanced payments, fast transaction, implementing the tools and the services that the merchant want, especially the SMEs, the underserved segment, that we call the entail, even the freelancer. Why not be also, the startup and we...
Why not democratize payments?
Yeah,
we consultants call it.
So from we started to identify exactly what do we need, what the market lack of. So our main drive is to fulfill and to close this gap, and then we take this input, develop, release, and we continue enhancing.
So Abdullah, let me take you a little bit deeper into that word. You said there were certain gaps. Now, I fundamentally buy into it. I think before we started the call, we spent 20 minutes talking about lots of things. And I personally think the SME segment, specifically in the in-store environment, forget the online environment, has been underserved. What were the specific gaps that you immediately saw initially that you wanted to address?
So the gap is different from year to another. But back a day, that the transaction timeout was too long. Also the look and feel of the terminal itself, it's very basic.
They were very clunky.
The requirements of the merchant himself doing the integration, very reliable integration, and the after sale service also was poor. Yeah, there is no even an SLA backend, because very hard to implement, because especially in the big region and a big country like Saudi, it's difficult. And the mission that time is we were against cash. We all as a fintech against cash. So the story also is different. But right now, every year, the merchants' thinking and the checkout is changing.
Yeah, they're getting more educated.
Yeah.
The volume of online digital payment, well, not online, the digital payment size is growing. So I'm assuming their needs have also changed.
So competition is not anymore against cash. The competition is how we will enhance the checkout experience, how we will provide the tools to make the merchant happy from servicing their customer.
Agreed. So it's shifting from being the cheapest product to being a product which adds most value.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Now, you've obviously focused, or you initially focused on the SME segment
And
of
also,
the micro businesses.
Sorry for interrupting, but
No, go ahead, please.
Yeah, and also one of the main thing that every single segment, they have a specific need.
Yes.
So I'm defining every single segment. Big merchants different than the small merchants. Retail is different than even the gas station. Mobile merchant is different than. So every single segment have different need, and you need to fulfill all of this need.
And you're going after every segment?
We are standardizing our product and service. However, we have the ability to understand our merchant behavior, and then we adapt
your proposition accordingly.
Yes, exactly.
But what percentage of your business currently still is SME versus the large corporates or the large retailers?
Maybe 80%.
It's still SMEs.
Yeah, maybe 80%, but not the volume, the number.
Obviously.
The number, let's say, number of point of sale.
Now you've come into the UAE, right? I want you to take a step back, right? You've obviously looked at the UAE for a period of time before you enter, right? Do you see any differences than what exists in Saudi Arabia and here?
Yes, there is a big difference. Every market have different needs, different player, different dynamic. So UAE is more competitive.
Agreed.
And also the demand of merchant is very high. We so happy about this. So there is a lot of room to improve here.
So you can play the service proposition better.
Yes, exactly. And we are very excited about UAE. It's very excited journey. So we started. We have about more or less 2,000 merchants. 2 months we started
in the UAE already.
Yes,
well, congratulations.
We started 2 months ago, and we have around 2,000 merchants, both offline and online.
And when you say online, means
online, we provide payment gateway and e-invoicing system.
Oh, so you are actually growing that side of the business too?
Yes, exactly. And we're trying to combine. So, for example, our own merchant in Saudi, most of our offline merchants, they actually having an online
presence too.
Presence too, yes.
And that's largely things like pay by messages, or is this full-fledged?
It's two services. Either it's a normal basic payment gateway tool, or pay by link.
Pay by links.
Yeah, pay by link.
And do you see a market of pay by links growing in this segment?
Yeah, it's definitely. It's based about whether you face customer or the customer remotely. But pay by link is very important, especially in Saudi for the home-based business. So it's a good feature a good collection feature for a family home-based business.
Okay, so what I found very interesting is, and I was actually reading about what you guys are doing in Saudi Arabia, and I'm assuming you're going to do the same thing here. You're obviously going beyond payments.
Yeah.
Right? People call it value-added services. Others call it whatever else they want to call it. What are the value-added services that you have already launched and you are seeing great take-up and excitement among the merchants for those?
So we are building the component around the payment based on the gaps that we identified, and this is day one Geidea exists. So we believe that building a certain component beyond payments will help our own merchants to sell more and to grow more, and to be, especially for SMEs, to focus more about their core business. So there is a lot. But we for example, we have for example our ECR system. We have the QR payments. We have the bill payments, for example, in Egypt. we connected all of the flow, for example, on store and online to one single merchant portal. And also we connect all of these and our after our
sales services.
Yeah, and we connected our after sales services to this portal. So we make it the merchant journey, very easy for them to manage, to open tickets, and to
get issues resolved.
Yes.
Right. Now, but let me ask you a question. So that's, to me, it makes sense, right? So payments cannot just be the ability to accept payments or make payments. Those days are gone, right? It's becoming more and more, and apologies, I'm going to use another consulting term about ecosystems, right? So you're building an ecosystem around it. In this ecosystem, are all the product and services Geidea's own product services, or are these products and services that you're working with partners on it too, and your partnerships?
To be honest with you, what doesn't matter for us, we want to own it. We want to own it doesn't matter to do it in-house, but we need to have the ability to manage it. This is exactly our because
so you want to manage the relationship with the merchant.
We want to manage we want to manage the relationship, even the small component, even if there is a third party. We want to have we are more hands-on.
You want to control the process in which
we want to control the process. We want to own the process exactly.
Right, and so therefore you can be customized. Therefore you can be different.
Yeah.
Therefore you can be relevant.
Because the service that we provided for our own merchant is our own responsibility. If we don't manage the process, then we don't have control, and then we cannot fulfill our promise for our merchant.
I agree with you, because at the end of the day, the relationships end and starts with your company, right?
Yes,
irrespective
exactly.
of third party. Now, let me ask you a tricky question, right? And I don't know if you want to answer this question, but I'll ask the question in any case, right? So partnerships are critical, right? And from what I gather, and correct me if I've got it wrong, that you have a partnership now in the UAE entering with FAB, right?
Yeah.
With my good friend Ramana, who was actually sitting on your seat a few weeks ago. And you might not know, actually, I'm one of, at one time, I was Ramana's biggest client, or I would argue the biggest retail client. So if he's listening into the show, he's already worried about the questions I'm going to ask. So the questions are not going to be about Ramana, but about Geidea. What is the nature of the construct of the relationship with FAB? Are you willing to share that?
So not in details, but
I don't want the commercials.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, what is the?
We have a partner with Fab. They are providing us the pin sponsor. We happy to deal with Fab, and we happy to deal with all of our partners as well. So if you can see it, we in Geidea we love to work neutral. We love to work with a banking partner. We love to work even with a competitor. Our main focus is the merchants, how we will serve this merchants, our merchants. So this is our main focus. So whether we go directly or through the third party. Fab is one of our biggest partnership in UAE. We help them, they help us. It's a both way benefit. We have similar partnership. For example, in Saudi, we are working with 14 acquirers, more or less. We work with another fintech players. In Egypt, the same. We're working with the 4 biggest banks. And we're very excited about this partnership. And all of this built from the beginning with trust and transparency. We have a trust. We gain the trust, and this is our bond. Our bond is a trust.
No, I agree with you, and that's important. So take that further. You just mentioned the word fintechs, right? So obviously you have a relationship with FAB. I understand the kind of relationship. So it's a bin sponsorship. You're obviously going to be able to target a segment that they might not have targeted in the past or as successfully. I'm not here to sort of put words in your mouth. On fintechs, right? So there are a number of fintechs which can enable capabilities at the point of sale, right?
Yeah.
Or even post point of sale. Have you started shortlisting, signing those fintechs in the region, in the UAE specifically? Are there any particular areas that you're looking at?
We did sign. On top of my mind, we signed. We signed with, for example, buy now pay later fintechs.
Which one have you signed?
We signed with Value in Egypt.
Well,
We signed with...
So I know Walid well. I was one of the first people to launch Value when I was in my previous...
Yeah, I met Walid last week,
Yeah,
and...
he was on the seat too, by the way.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
So he's a very nice guy.
Good
I met
guy.
him. Yeah, he's a good guy. I met him two weeks
And
ago.
they're entering Saudi Arabia, by the way.
Yes, exactly. They're entering Saudi Arabia. We signed with Tabi in Saudi. We signed with Tamara. We signed... I want to remember
So
them all.
those are the three big ones as far as BNPL is concerned. But beyond BNPL, are you looking at other point-of-sale service providers?
Yes, with the ECR company, for instance, we sign with all of them. As I mentioned to you, we are very neutral. Even if we have a product, we don't mind a third party. We're working with a third party. So we believe about if you want to grow faster and lighter, we need to be a neutral and work with.
You want to work with as many people. I totally agree with you. And I think that is the way forward, because I don't think you can build everything in-house. I like the idea that you said, which is I want to control the experience, right? I want to control the process in which the merchant experiences a particular product, but I'm happy to actually work with people who are the best in class in what they do rather than build everything themselves.
Yeah. And we also feel that like our own responsibility is to create this impact and to help our partner, which is the merchant and SMEs. So we don't want to be, exclusive. What we build is what we provide to them. We need to work with anyone we think that they might add value for our own partner, which is a merchant.
So tell me something. So you deal with a very wide segment of merchants, right? Yeah. To make it further complex, you're working across multiple markets, right? And every market has their own dynamic. What is the mechanism that you use as a company to constantly learn? So how are you constantly engaging the merchants and learning?
The number one that we learn, if you want to do something, we need to do it right from the beginning.
Right.
Okay, that's one. And two, we must be more focused until we master the thing that we want to provide. So if you want to enter a certain market, first we think about where is the gap and how we will fill the gap, and do we have the capabilities to do this? This is very important. And once we identify a gap, because our presence is not to replicate something, we want to do something in our own way. So, and this is the number one thing. And then we take the requirement, we build it, and then, as I mentioned to you, we release and we keep enhancing. Until we master. It's not about having as much feature and as much tech tools as we can. It's about how we will, if you have one single feature, how this feature will be on top of others. This is the main thing that we are focused. So, and this is one of the most important things. So there is a tech versus a need.
Okay.
Yeah. So tech versus need. So some of that fintech, even if you are in technology space, it's not about pushing a product and pushing the service. Not about this. The main drives comes from the market needs, from the end customer. So, and this is exactly how do we see it.
Okay. I'm going to ask you now the hard question, right? It's easy to say what you want to do. So in the last 5 to 6 years, right, you guys have been growing. What have been the big challenges?
There is definitely a challenge. There's no doubt about this. And also, if you are a market leader, you will face challenges because will be the first. And there is
you're the one everybody wants to go after.
Yeah, and being also in the leading position, you have also the responsibility. You need to set up the market right, how it should be. I think the biggest challenge that we faced at the beginning, the first 2 to 3 years, is definitely because you are in the proving phase. Yeah, and then you go after, because if you look at the entrepreneurship journey, it's like I would say it like 3 phases. Look at the proven, just make. You need to prove that you have a product that works. And then the next phase is the surviving. You want to survive. You want to manage your own working capital, manage your own expenses, etc. And the third thing is surviving. The growth. How you will grow. How you will handle all of the requests. How you will go over the pain of growth, and then reach a sustainable corporation.
Yeah. And I guess part of that sustainable is about how you scale.
So, and I think this is not the challenge that we faced all leads. It's like all the fintech. I think this is common between fintechs. So the first is the most difficult time, especially with the regularity, side, and also the markets, fulfilling the market and trying to perfect the product. This is the challenging part, I would say.
Okay, I'm gonna make it even harder now, right? So 2 areas, right? I personally think I unfortunately never became a founder. I live vicariously through you successful founders. That's why I sit on this chair and not on that chair, right? I think 2 of the big challenges startups face, and some of them do a good job and the others don't. One is around leadership, right? And the clarity of that leadership, because you're leading a bunch of people through a journey, and as you said, you're going through this phase of first proving that your idea works, then surviving the fact that you have enough runway so that you can take that idea to enough people, and then there is this scale up stage or expansion stage. How have you solved the issue regarding talent, right? So what was your approach towards managing talent? And I know you've hired some of my friends also. I'll tell you a separate story whether they're talented or not. But go ahead.
So in fintech space especially, talent is one of the major issue. And what's make it even harder is to find the right talent in this region.
Let me stop you. You think there is talent in this region? Or do you have to go out?
It depends. Sometimes you need to go out.
Okay.
And I think also one of the main responsibility is to transfer knowledge. We need to transfer knowledge before we just start to see the talent in this region. For us, and to attract talent, especially if you are a startup, you need to have you need the founder himself. He need to work very hard and to convince the team or convince the talent to buy in the story. That's one. And 2, I think we need to blend the expert people with the fresh blood. And we saw a couple of cases with the fresh. When you see with a startup, you see the only thing that they have fresh blood, and they said, okay, they do a mistake, they do it again, but the best thing to do to blend and balance between the
expertise and the energy.
Yeah, and the energy, exactly. And the third thing I think you need to set up the organization structure right. You need to set up the structure to expand. For example, not giving the high level or the C level, for example, positions, or the high with the not
and not giving them the right people to support them.
To the right people support.
And I think a lot of startups make that mistake.
Exactly. And then you will stuck in the stage that you need to change, and you need to do a major changes, and will not allow you to grow. This is the third thing. So, and I think it's really hard. It's not that simple, but once you, especially as I mentioned, the first phase, but once you're in the middle, you will start having more and more. And also for the talent, you need to create the right environment. Right environment mean, you need to work in very transparency environment. You need to work more or less into a family more than corporate, because the startup, they have an advantage and disadvantage also. So the disadvantage, there is no clarity in the process. There is no job description, just you can see it and you can follow. There is no systematic work environment. But the advantage is there is a lot of the creativity, room of creativity, and with the creativity, it has to give the empowerment and the authority for those talent to do what they want to do, they love, because you know, some of them entrepreneurs, they will ask and they will say, how I will allow them to work based on what they want, because the main responsibility of founder to let them see the vision, but not the whole journey, because they might scared.
Yeah,
and they
enough.
might say you're crazy or somehow. Because if I will grab one of my employee, for example, and I will say from the beginning in 2010, and I will ask him, do you think Geidea that will be the one of the biggest fintech player in the region? He wouldn't believe, and he might walk away and leave. But the thing is, if you divide this vision to a small milestone and let them see and believe the small milestone, you will give the excitement and you will give the motivation, because it's so close, and then move to another.
Abdullah, I love what you're saying. I think this is so true, and I don't think many of us or many people do that. And actually, this concept works even outside entrepreneurship, right? The ability to sell or share only as much as people can consume.
Yes.
Because if you give too much information, it can get overwhelming and it actually could scare people away, right? In that theme, I've got a question for you. You were CEO and founder. And then I think...
CEO, but not anymore.
That's the question
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, right? What made you step away from being the CEO and saying, I will take the founder's role and I will let somebody else come and take the CEO? So what was the thinking there?
So as you know, I don't have, or I will answer it in different way.
Go ahead.
So as you know, the Geidea is transforming from a national to a multinational. So, and it need, and the organization, Geidea organization has been changed massively. So I'll give you an example. So in Geidea, before 2 years, we are about like 300 to 400 employees. Maybe we would reach more or less around this number. But right now we are about 1,800. And it's required, the group CEO job is not as simple as before. So it's need to be divided. So we have a board, we apply more governance. So my own responsibility is different than the group CEO. And we want a certain caliber and an international standard that also will step in and to help to form all of this structure. So my role now is not in day-to-day operation, is that a chairman, a founder and a chairman, and more or less my responsibility is to forming the strategy and to help somehow in facing a certain challenge. The group CEO is more into day-to-day operation, and in this way we are completing each other.
Well, okay, so
and it's very hard, by the way, to get. And some of the founders sometimes,
and that's what I was going to ask
Yeah,
you. How do you deal with that? Because it is your baby, right? At the end of the day.
But our main focus is how we will help this baby to grow. This is the main thing. And some founder, they said, no, I need to manage the company in day to day, but it's not about managing the company. It's about how you will see the future of the company. And this is exactly my main focus.
Interesting. Do you play golf?
No.
You should. And I seriously mean it, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not saying this because you're sitting here and I have to make you feel happy about the fact that you've come on my show. That's not the intention here. You're a young guy, right? Let me just put it this way. You're way younger than I am, right? And I think it's highly credible that you are as objective about these things, because the vast majority of the people I know, and I know a lot of founders, right? I've spent most of my life hanging around fintechs and startups. people aren't that objective. People don't see the world that way. And even if they talk that way, they don't see it that way, right? I've seen lots of founders step away, bring a CEO, and ruin the life of the CEO, right? And make it impossible. So take that as a compliment. And I think you should play golf, because golf is a game where if you can take the emotion away, you're always going to be a good golfer. That's why I never broke 10 handicap. I unfortunately am a highly emotional person, right? And I don't know if I could be ever that objective, right? Let's take the next step up. So I'm gonna ask you to sell me that vision for the next 3 years or 5 years, right? Where are you heading? I know you've got the...
I will not share the full vision.
No.
I might scare you off.
You might scare me off, but are you planning to hire me, right? Right? I'm expensive, let me tell you that. I'm very keen to hear. You're doing the right thing. You went to the UAE. I think the UAE is an interesting market. It is competitive. I think it'll teach you some lessons. And I think those lessons will be useful in other markets, right? I'm a big fan of Egypt. I personally think, 100 million people, massive consumption. It prepares you for the big markets, if I might say so. But tell me what's the next sort of 3 or 4 big things which Geidea has planned beyond just expanding this market? So what are going to be the next building blocks, if I may say?
So our main focus right now is to roll out our product and service to more markets beyond Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. We are looking for around 7 countries for the next 2 years.
All right. In the wider MENA region, or are you?
No.
You don't want to tell me. Okay.
Yeah. So you will hear the good news soon. So we plan. We don't go by region. You go by the needs, as I mentioned.
I agree with you.
We identify several other countries, and we will start roll out our product, as I mentioned, for the next 2 years. That's one. And the other thing is, as you know, that fintech is very dynamic. So we are giving big attention to the innovation part of it. And the innovation part mean not to build, the fancy, as I mentioned, fancy product and service, but to continuous hit the customer satisfaction. And this is one of our main focus. And without continuous innovation, we will never be there. So we are focusing on implementing, introducing more product and service around merchants, and to expand our product into 7 other countries. This is our main block.
Okay, and those are impressive.
Next block, next chapter for our story for the next 2 years.
So you mentioned innovation, right? 2 questions, and please feel free to answer whichever way, right? So you're obviously both in the in-store payments,
yep,
right? And you're also on the online. The lines are getting very blurred there, right? Because as experiential commerce comes in, right, a lot of the online commerce will actually start existing within the in-store environment. So first question is, from 3 to 5 years now, do you still see yourself predominantly as an in-store player, or someone who provides unified commerce, i.e. both sides, and healthy balance on both? First question. Secondly, and maybe you can wrap the answer or answer it separately, I'm a big believer that the rise of alternative payments will grow, right? Now, I know you and me had a debate before we started on real-time payments, QR payments, closed-loop payments.
Yeah.
And, we have similar opinions on a few things, slightly different opinions, and I'm sure you're right and I'm wrong, but that's fine. How do you see the payment landscape changing, right? And how do you see Geidea's share, right, of offline and online changing?
So basically, to answer your first question, we are combining the on-store payments and online payments together, and we started to link it together to create this the omni-channel approach. So we are in the online space. So whether the online and e-com grow or not, This we leave it to the market. Depends about the customer and how the shift will be fast. Definitely in the future, the growth of the e-com is much more bigger than the online, but that doesn't mean the offline it will not grow also. It's a growth both way, but the e-com is much more bigger than the offline. So we are combining both. That's one. To answer for the second question is the payments future. I always get this question. To predict the future of payments is so difficult, and I will be it's very foolish to answer, to give you a very straightforward short answer, because there is many stakeholders into this, and you cannot predict, but we can adapt, and we know the direction. So we are heading to the right direction, but specifically how it would look like, this is very difficult to answer. But we think that for us, as I mentioned, that our main focus for the time being is merchant, and all the product and service to be around the merchant, how the payments will look like. We will...
You'll adapt.
We will adapt, exactly. So we will adapt with it.
And you'll keep your eyes open, your nose sniffing, right? And if there is something which captures your imagination, you will do that.
No, but not only this, and also we have, with the innovations goes hand in hand with the regulation. Sometimes you have very bright and very, very good and practical, let's say, solution, but from regulatory perspective, maybe it's not the right way.
Okay, so I've got 2 more questions. This is great. You keep opening doors for me to get into.
Tell me.
Right? Arjun believes the future is not cashless, it's less cash. Okay? And as a matter of fact, at your event in Seamless, this was a question which was posed to me, and I answered. And I said, cash will always have a role to play. Okay, I can't see 50 years from now, but the next 5 years, while I'm still young enough and in the world, are you going to get into giving cash management solutions? Is that something you're thinking about?
No, definitely no.
You're not going to get into cash.
No. We matter of fact, we have a cash business solution for a couple of years, but we close it. We get rid of. Not because the cash is not going to be there, but this is not in our roadmap anymore.
So you mentioned the fact that you learn, you observe, you develop, and you solve the problems for the merchant, right? A number of acquirers don't do it, but I'm going to ask the question: Are you going to offer cash management type solutions to your SME merchants?
We are not into the cash. We don't believe about the cash in the future, but the cash will exist.
Yep.
But in some markets, for example, like Egypt, the cash is still dominant. So we are helping our merchants into a cash collection for a certain product. So we have the bill payments solution that we offer for our own merchant, and we help those merchants with the cash collection, not because we want to be in the cash space, but we want, as I mentioned, we are merchant focused, and what we identify one of the main need in Egypt to help them with that.
And I love that. So that means the future is less cash, not cashless, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
I will stick up with it. Okay. So last question. I know we're out of time. Quick fire, right? This is, I just want you to give me an answer. If the future is bright or doubtful, single answer. You can't say both. Okay?
Okay.
First, P2P payments.
Bright.
Okay. BNPL.
Bright, but I don't think BNPL by itself will gonna be excited in the future.
So I agree with you. I think pure BNPL players will not be.
Yes, exactly. This is the right question. Pure BNPL, I don't think they need to think somehow to do something else.
Yeah, and some of them will, and some of them will fail. I think there will be I think some of them will, at least in this region, will vanish in the next few years. B2B BNPL.
Right, definitely.
We've talked about crypto, so we'll put that aside. Okay. B2B payments on blockchain.
So if I will answer in this region. So it's doubt.
It's a doubtful take.
And in this region, because you need blockchain. It's need an infrastructure. So an infrastructure has to be ready. So when I answer a question, I will answer in the next 5 years. For example.
Totally. I'm not asking 10 years.
So I think
doubtful for the next 5 years.
Doubtful.
Right. Final question. Everybody talks about this. Biometrics. And I'm not talking just finger, right? Do you see a future for things like facial payments,
we saw it. We saw Google implement hands-free.
Yeah.
But think for a second. If you walk in a shop and you have a biometric and you have normal card acceptance, you will put your own card or just punch your finger. It's like, I don't think it's a practical at all.
So you don't think biometrics are?
I don't think biometric or facial recognition is a smooth way to do a better checkout.
So you still believe people will continue to use their phones,
yes, their card, because the phone it's like a part of your own body. Everyone attached to the phones. Unless the phone will change, this is a different story. There is some tech will be in place, like will have a bigger window to succeed, like chip under the skin or something like this. But tech will have a window to grow, because everyone is carrying their own phone, and I think the most easiest and the smooth way to have a very easy checkout is like contactless payments.
Contactless phones, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the trickiest question of them all. Doubtful or bright? E-commerce on metaverse. Next 5 years in the region. Doubtful. And that's because you don't think enough metaverses will come up? Or do you think the concept of metaverse?
I think the concept of metaverse not mature to change and to do the right disruption.
Fair enough. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
I think at least
it's
in this
very
part
easy and fancy tool to have, and for the time being, but it's need a lot of work. It's like exactly the voice recognition when it started. It's need a lot of enhancement, because sometimes you speak one time, two time it's not a practical and to execute an order. But I think metaverse it will have in the future a bright future, but for the next 5 years I don't think it will.
You don't think much will happen?
No.
I'll tell you something. You've given me a very good idea. I think we need to have a round table conference. I'll have Ramana sit there. I'll call Waleed, and then I'll call my good friend Ronit. I don't know if you've met Ronit. He works for Citibank. He's just published this very famous report on the metaverse from Citi, and he's been traveling half the world talking about it. Abdullah, thanks for coming in. I know you have a packed schedule, and you have more attractive things to do, like photograph yourself at GQ. But thank you for coming into my studio here and joining me at the couch. It was a pleasure. And I must say, personally, and again, I'm not saying this because I have to, I think your story is very impressive, both as an individual. I think Geidea has done all the right things so far. I do a lot of work in Saudi Arabia. I do go down. I do speak to people. I think you're entering the UAE at a very interesting time. It's very impressive that you already have 2,000 merchants. I didn't know about that, so that's great news. I think Egypt is a huge opportunity, and then 7 more markets. So I guess you're going to become completely unavailable if I have to ever call you again. So I better get your phone number before the end of today, right? And do remember me, my name is Arjun, right? But with that, I'd like to say thanks. So guys, we had a GQ model on the couch today. I had Abdullah, who's also the founder, previously founder and CEO, but someone who's smart enough to have actually stepped up to the level of founder and bring the professionalism into the organization as they grow from being a single market player to multi-markets. I'd like to thank him and his team, and specifically their CMO, Louise, who actually made this happen for us. So thank you, Louise, if you are listening in. With that, goodbye till the next episode.